As a 2000s kid, I've always looked at the 90s with curiosity. It was a captivating era filled with innovation, creative, to say the least, especially for someone who only experienced remnants of it. It heralded the dawn of many revolutionary breakthroughs, and you can see that in how it popularized a lot of things like grunge fashion, or hip-hop music, or the array of masterpieces in cinema and television, like Titanic and Pokemon. It's a decade that by no question has etched its mark on the world with its strides in differing kinds of art. And video games are no exception. There's a bunch of titles that this decade is remembered with, like Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy VII, etc, etc. And the reason they're so remembered is because those titles mark a monumental shift in game design, the birth of 3D graphics. But to this day, after hitting milestones in game development and game design, those games remain all-time favorites for a lot of people, even though the next installments have supposedly perfected their formulas. So that made me curious. Are those people just fetishizing the thought of those games, driven purely by nostalgia in choosing them as their favorites? Or
is there another reason that I don't know of?
Am I being blinded by those games being aesthetically unpleasing and they're actually masterpieces? To answer those goddamn questions, I took off my judging a book by its cover glasses and went on a quest to play and finish all those 3 games. And what will possibly help give us a different answer to my questions is the fact that I have no nostalgic connection to them whatsoever. I'm 21, I'm nostalgic to Fortnite. So I invite you, my friend, to embark on this adventure with me as I try to figure out if what those Reddit basement dwellers are saying is true, or if judging a book by its cover is the way we should do it. I was never really a Nintendo kid. I had this little brother right here growing up that I would spend most of my time on, but my parents only got me 3 games, so I didn't really experience peak Nintendo, so no Mario, no Zelda, no Pokemon. It was only when I started progressing into a conscious human being after my ghostly era of being a child that I started having a little bit of a liking to platformers. Fast forward to now, we're playing Super Mario 64. The word revolutionary is tossed around a lot whenever Mario 64 is in question, and it's the first 3D game of the franchise, so it makes sense, even for someone who has no knowledge of the series whatsoever. But this doesn't do the game any justice in my opinion, because the movement is what signifies Super Mario 64. The way Mario handles is very unrestricted, and the levels are very vast without any manual to ease you into how the level functions, which leads to a lot of exploration and experimentation, and that's where the movement and the level design click like a puzzle piece. The formula I noticed by which you create the perfect level is based on 3 things: a good idea for the level, a good execution of it, and a structure that ties the level's idea, the game's mechanics, and the level's design in a way that makes it feel finished. And I'm gonna give you 2 examples. In Jolly Roger Bay, I love this part. I obsess over getting a particular star in a particular way. The vanilla way of getting it is to jump in that cannon, shoot yourself towards that pillar, jump on the platform, and get this star. Very simple. Not really my style, because I act based on my physics knowledge. I looked at this wall and said, if I calculated the correct height of the trajectory of the cannon, I can shoot myself up with a certain angle so that I fall down hugging the wall until I reach the platform by the end of my rotation. And I did that. And I got it first try.
Stop the cap.
In Wet Dry World, the mechanisms of lowering and rising the water level work together seamlessly to help you get all the stars, and the reason why I like it and why it made a lot of sense is because I'm dumb. I don't really like things that make me use my brain, but here it was demanding enough that I could do it, and it makes me feel smart and accomplished. There's a lot of atmospheric little touches and secrets to applaud. Like how in Tick-Tock Clock, if you jump in the level at exactly 12 o'clock, all the platforms will be frozen in place, and the more early you jump, the faster all the platforms are moving. Or how there is a secret level in Jolly Roger Bay's room that you probably will miss if you're not actively looking around you. Improvisation is key when playing this game, and it leads to a sense of familiarity with the level and with losing because of making a lot of dumbass decisions. But that's the only way to experience it in its entirety. At its surface level, Super Mario 64 is just a collectathon, but at its core, it's what laid the foundation for collectathons. A mix of playful lightheartedness and intricate level design, with an endless amount of inspired ideas and a deep understanding of what is considered fun. Yes, it worked as a blueprint for decades worth of inspirations, but only mentioning that is a disservice. It's a masterpiece in every sense of the word. And if you're still asking me whether people like it because of nostalgia or because it is actually a good game, I'd say that it's a mix of both. Even though I don't have a nostalgic connection to it, I can see how a game like this might be 100 times better in someone's memory if they tied nostalgia to it. And honestly, I do think that it lives up to that level of expectation. There's also probably a little bit of bias here because it is my favorite genre. You're going to have to let me know if that's the case. Eventually, everything must come to an end. Relationships, friendships, love and joy, pain and grief, and life itself eventually ends. The only thing that doesn't end is Ocarina of Time. I've grown fond of the Zelda formula for over the last couple of years because of Breath of the Wild, but I made the mistake of thinking that this game is going to be similar. We can dissect Ocarina of Time into two parts, Child Link and Adult Link, because for me they're two entirely different games. And we start with Child Link. The plot is set for you after getting a little bit of taste of the dungeon system in the Deku Tree. After that, you're thrown into Hyrule to explore, and that's where I had the most fun. You're essentially just a child going on adventures and seeing different places like Goron City or Zora's Domain. One thing that made the game shine in my opinion is the fact that those games are aesthetically just a bunch of tiles on a bunch of grids, but the magic of the game is in the experience and in how it constantly pushes the limits of its simplicity by utilizing the ocarina. Music always makes anything 100 times better, but when a game's gimmick is you learning different songs and using them in your playthrough, it makes you for some reason appreciate the game a lot more. There's a lot of iconic scenes while you're Child Link, like the first time entering a fairy fountain and seeing this cardboard box of a lady. Or Zora's Domain. It's etched in my mind how when I play Zelda's Lullaby, the waterfall breaks into two halves and I just walk right through like a Moses. It's such a calm and peaceful area. You can practice diving as much as you want. You can chat with the local fishes. The camera rotates in a little bit of a cinematic way when you climb in the stairs for the king's room. All that gives the place grandeur. And when you're finally done messing with the place, you go right inside a beast's belly to save the king's daughter. It's such a cool place with such an imaginative premise. And from what I've seen so far, they always know how to make it interesting. And the most iconic of them all, finally, when you reach the Temple of Time after you've collected the 3 stones, and there's only sunlight breaking through the ceiling, showing nothing but the Master Sword, while playing a haunted version of the Song of Time that complements the vibe of the place. Child Link's half ends on a high note, showcasing its mastery of environments after its consistent unfolding of them, and this reaches an even higher climax after you're greeted by Anthony Hopkins, and he tells you that it's been 7 years and that you have to pay rent now. The reason why I say it gets better is because this 7-year gap has a very subtle artistic vision that I really appreciate. The switch from Child Link, where everything seems colorful and joyful and there is life everywhere, to Adult Link, where Ganondorf has taken over the world and evil is everywhere. The town that was once filled with people and activities is now a ghost town filled with zombies. Hope once filled the air you're breathing, but now the only thing you can hope for is to breathe at all. This contrast, in my opinion, is a hidden comparison between a child's worldview and an adult's worldview. But to be entirely honest as well, this all might be a big old chunk of bullshit, and I'm just making all this shit up. But I do think that video games are essentially an art form, and what makes art great is the fact that it can be interpreted in a million different ways. So I'm sticking with what I'm saying. Fuck you. Up until that point, I was about 13 hours into the game. I'm slow and I get sidetracked. backtracked a lot, don't judge me. And I was having a lot of fun until it started being a dungeon fest. Let me put this out right away. I fucking hate dungeons. I think they open the way for a lot of backtracking and meandering, and for me that is the opposite of fun. I don't like having to go through the same place 100 fucking times without any trace of progression other than a key that I'll use to go through the same rooms again and again and again. It's frustrating as hell. And what makes it even more frustrating in Ocarina of Time, and this is probably going to be a hot take, so brace yourself, I think the dungeons here are poorly designed. The water temple, for example. Why is there a key? A mandatory key, mind you, hidden in the tower in a room way under the first door you go through. And in order to be able to go to it, you have to go to the upper floor and raise the water level without any help or any guide or any cutscene or anything to help you see it. And if you go through the door that's right in front of you, you have to do it all over again. You have to lower the water level again, enter the tower again, go up a couple of floors again, raise the water level again, get lost again, then do it all again. This is not fun again. And why is there an item called the Eye of Truth that's necessary to finish the Shadow Temple that they tell you nothing about until you're already inside of the temple, and the only tip they give you, other than the one that we already know, is that it's in Kakariko Village. And finally, when I go to the well in Kakariko Village, I get stuck. I didn't know that I should return to being a kid again in order to access this place that I should get the Eye of Truth from, that I will use to go to the Shadow Temple, because I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know that I could have done that that was a viable option, until I went on, opened YouTube, and searched how to get the Eye of Truth, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. And turns out that I should have went to the Spirit Temple first in order to know that very important mechanic that I need to progress. And if that's the case, why didn't they tell me anything to make me go to the Spirit Temple first if it's so goddamn necessary? I'm getting a little bit passionate here. I'm sorry. This is probably all my fault. I should have explored more. Don't get me wrong. I think the temples are very cool and very fun to look at. Like the Twisted Room, for example, in the Forest Temple. Or the Spirit Temple itself. But it's like going through a museum. It's cool and it's fun, but 30 minutes in and I'm done. I want to go home. I've looked at stone dicks for long enough. By the way, the biggest museum in the world just opened here in Egypt, and I'm supposed to be patriotic and shit. Look it up. It looks good, and it got holograms and everything. It's not all bad though. I think that some of the boss fights in Child Link's half is very fun and very memorable. Phantom Ganon, the dragon, Evil Link, the twin sisters, the final fight in its entirety. It's so goddamn memorable. How they introduced Ganondorf, and now he's just sitting there playing the piano while holding Zelda hostage. Oh, that's cold. Or after you defeat him the first time, I start running out of the castle with Zelda while it's going down. Or when he's resurrected in his final form and you defeat him with a light arrow and with Zelda's help. I'm not trying to shit on your favorite game. It's cool. It's a good game, but I think it suffers a lot from a very outdated design system and gameplay loop. So to answer the goddamn question, is the game that good, or is it just nostalgia? I'd say that if you think that it's by any shape or form better than your titles like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, then it's obviously just nostalgia. But I feel like I need to emphasize on something. And it's the fact that there's absolutely nothing wrong with loving a video game because of nostalgia. I'm criticizing games and acting like I know every goddamn thing, but this, for example, this is one of my favorite games ever made. The reason why you like a video game doesn't have anything to do with how artistic the game is, or how there is ludonarrative harmony, or any of those buzzwords, or how deep the combat system is, or how deep the story is. It just has to make sense to you without necessarily having to put up with any online criticism or any reviews of some sort, or any overly annoying, unhinged, half-naked, slightly insane 20-year-old. Yeah. With all that being said, I didn't finish Final Fantasy VII. I couldn't. I just couldn't. It's too much of a nuisance for me. I drop video games whenever I find myself losing that spark, and finishing it for the sake of finishing it didn't feel like good enough of a goal for me. I hope you're not disappointed. Thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed working on this video. Even though it wasn't the hardest video to make, but it felt like a project. And stuff like this is always both creatively fulfilling for me personally and just fun. I'm essentially criticizing video games, It's such a fun thing to think about things that are made to make you not think about things. I hope you had fun, because I sure did. And if you enjoyed this, I'd encourage you to subscribe. It really helps. And press that bell to not miss any future similar content. Don't forget to like the video, and while you're here, drop a comment. Tell me if you agree with me on my takes, or if you don't. Any criticism is accepted and appreciated on this YouTube channel. Also, I love hearing stories about people's first interactions with old games like these. There's always something interesting to hear, so don't hesitate to share if you got any. See you in the next one. Goodbye. Goodbye.